Welcome to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is Wednesday, July 15th, 2026, smack dab in the middle. It's hump day, middle of the month, although the month is 31 days this month. So I guess technically, around 6 p.m., it'll be halfway. Ah, we'll pretend. Dispensation. There we go, dispensation. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234 to kick things off. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with a forecast near you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ken. Yeah, another hot day. Really humid today as well. As yesterday's heat kind of started feeling it toward the end of the day, but that extreme heat moves on in through this afternoon, right through 8 o'clock tonight. That is until the cold front passes through, dropping the humidity very nicely, and it'll be much more comfortable by tomorrow afternoon, although still warm. You see the orange shades in northern and southern New Jersey showing the heat advisory for feels like temperatures up to 105. So here's the record high that's possible throughout this afternoon. All of these areas shaded in that purple, and then of course the red extending up to Boston, down past DC. It's going to be a very warm finish to the day. While it's not as humid tomorrow, it's still warm. So all of that heat repeats itself once more right through the East Coast and the Midwest. You can thank that high pressure keeping all the clouds at bay. It's very, very clear today, except for the haze that'll be around that. And that's due to the wildfire smoke that concentrates throughout the afternoon as it works its way in. That's from Canada. That's moving eastward today. Down south, there's where the rain showers are. So we stay dry once more this afternoon. So the trouble with the high pressure is that it's allowing all of that air from high above our heads to sink closer to the ground. And that's what's going to give us that poorer air quality today as that wildfire smoke moves in. You got a taste of it yesterday with that sort of haziness to the sky, that milky shade of white. That repeats again today, but except the smoke will be a little bit closer to the ground, allowing for some more of that poor air quality through the end of the day. And then with the high pressure sitting offshore for Friday, we get a beautiful afternoon before rain comes in early Saturday morning. So it's something to keep in mind as the heat continues to build through this afternoon today, Ken. And with that, it stays unusually warm through the end of the day, thanks to that very clear sky off to the east. So the wildfire smoke is concentrated up in the upper Midwest, right on the Canadian border, working its way right along the jet stream down toward the New Jersey through this afternoon. And you can kind of see right there as that sinking air allows that smoke to lower through the atmosphere. It'll give us poor air quality through the rest of the day into tomorrow, probably seeing that clearing as the cold front passes later on this evening into tonight. The other story is the Saharan dust, which has still been concentrating. It's not as concentrated as it was the last few days, but still in the Atlantic basin, any hurricane kryptonite is very helpful this time of year during hurricane season, Ken.
Oh, my God. I'm just thinking about the dust. I spent all night dusting, and now you're telling me the Sahara dust has got to come in? Who's going to clean up after her Sahara? And why does she have dust? I just want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Just saying. All right, Michael, fine. Thank you, sir. We'll check back with you. I'll go take my meds. It is 3 minutes after 7 right now, East Coast, 3 minutes after 4, West Coast. In terms of traffic on the New Jersey area right now, all we have is some issues. Route 21 northbound, north of exit 13, Ackerman Avenue to exit 14, Route 46 in Clifton. Just some delays, all lanes open. Garden State Parkway delays right now, northbound from north of exit 148, JFK Drive to 150. Kind of the same area that always has buildup, just happens to be having it now. Again, no accidents, no problems. And on 280, we have delays eastbound, east of exit 12, Garden State Parkway to exit 15. Again, all volume at this point. In terms of the Hudson River crossings, we take a look at the Holland and the Lincoln. The Lincoln Tunnel right now is going to cost you 20 minutes in. This is the Holland Tunnel 139 on the right side, bumper to bumper. That's a solid 35 to 40. GWB upper and lower levels right now, 80-95 approach are moving but heavy. The current flow is going to cost you about 25 minutes into Manhattan. You can see right there, upper level on the right, lower on the left. It could be much worse, but it is what it is on a Wednesday morning. President Trump has abandoned a proposed 20% fee on cargo travel through the Strait of Hormuz, saying that the plan will instead be replaced by trade and investment agreements with Gulf states. The decision comes as the United States prepares to resume a blockade of Iranian ports amid renewed military strikes and severe disruptions to shipping through that critical waterway. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has reportedly been ordered to temporarily suspend most vehicle stops following deadly ICE-involved shootings that happened in Texas and Maine. The pause will allow officers to receive additional training, although vehicle stops may continue in cases involving dangerous targets. The directive comes after 26-year-old Juan Sebastian Guerrero, who officials say was not the intended target of an operation, was fatally shot by an ICE agent in Maine after not obeying the agent during a traffic stop and trying to flee. So the bottom line is, if somebody who identifies as any kind of an officer approaches you and tells you to stop, or comes up behind you with a light flickering and says stop, you stop. You stop. If the officer says hands up, you put your hands up. If the officer says get out of the vehicle, you get out of the vehicle. It's pretty simple. The second you do something otherwise, like get back in the vehicle, put it in drive, and try to flee, you get shot. The second you start running from the officer, you can get shot. So it's a pretty simple rule. You do what they say, you don't get shot. And then if they made a mistake, they apologize, you go on your way. It's simple as that. So, not saying that that's what happened here. An investigation has to happen. But in almost every single incident where there's a police-involved shooting, you look at the camera, the video later, which mainstream media then tends to keep from us or doesn't follow up with the follow-up story because it doesn't fit the narrative. And later it'll show, oh, the person was ordered 9 times to get out of the car and didn't get out of the car. They keep asking, why? Why? Get out of the car. We'll talk about it in a minute. If it's a mistake on our part, fine. Get out of the car. I've been pulled over twice. One time I was told to get out. One time I was just asked questions. Turns out it was somebody similar they were looking for. That's probable cause. They have a right to do it. You don't like it, change the law. But just listen to what a police officer says and you won't get hurt. It's simple as that. Supreme Court Justices Elena Kagan and Amy Coney Barrett appeared before Congress to increase security funding. As threats against judges continue to rise, the court is seeing more than $228 million seeking more than $228 million for the next fiscal year, including $14.6 million to expand protection for the justices. Both justices described personal security concerns, including threats, swatting, and intimidation tactics, while lawmakers from both parties expressed support for strengthening judicial security. President Trump has paid E. Jean Carroll more than $5.6 million, including interest, after a jury found him liable for sexually abusing and defaming her. So it was a $5 million reward. He hadn't paid because he was appealing. Now with the interest, it's $5.6 million, and he's paid that. The payment was released after the Supreme Court declined to hear Trump's appeal, and a federal judge rejected his effort to further delay the payout. Trump denies Carroll's allegations and is separately appealing an additional defamation judgment worth nearly $84 million. Florida was preparing to execute 74-year-old Dennis Socher, who would become the oldest inmate put to death in the state's modern history. Socher was convicted of the 1982 murder and kidnapping of 18-year-old Patricia Gifford, whose body was never found. His scheduled execution comes amid a surge in executions in Florida and growing attention on the aging death row population, with another 80-year-old prisoner also scheduled for execution later this month. So here's the deal, just to clarify. These are people who were sentenced to death under law 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago in some cases. But with all the appeals and different elected officials in Florida, the Democrats who came into power twice, they postponed the death penalty or ended the death penalty or commuted the sentence, made it life in prison, etc. So with all the appeals, these people are on death row waiting. Now they're 70, they're 80, and now we're complaining, oh, you can't kill people who are that old. Well, we didn't want to wait until they were 80. The plan was to kill them when they were 40 because of what the rapes and murders that they just committed. But you're the one who kept them alive till 80. Now you don't want us to kill them because they're 80. That's the law. You don't want to do the time, then you don't do the crime. So these people who have committed serious murders, etc., rapes, they have the death penalty for a reason. They've had 20, 30, 40 years of appeals that we don't hear about. And unfortunately, that's the death penalty. And death penalty has been around for 3,000 plus years. It is 10 minutes after the hour. Nearly 7,000 cases of cyclosporiasis, a foodborne illness that can cause severe and prolonged diarrhea, have been confirmed or are under investigation across at least 34 states. Michigan has reported the largest number of cases. Does that mean that they're full of? No. And health officials are investigating lettuce or salad greens as possible sources, although no specific product supplier or distributor has been identified and no recalls have been issued. At least 141 people have been hospitalized while no deaths have been reported. But remember, when you have severe diarrhea, what usually happens is you dehydrate and you can actually die from dehydration. So if you have that issue and you find that after a day or two, you can't hold down water or you can't drink enough because it's constantly going out, you need to get to the hospital to get an IV. So it's simple as that. And so fortunately, nobody has died so far, but they've called it explosive diarrhea, not to be disgusting, but they have called it that because it's not just a little, oh, I have a cramp. It is sudden and big. So just so you know. Sad news. Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, the pilot celebrated for safely landing, remember, on the Hudson, Flight 1549 from the now defunct U.S. Airways. In 2009, he announced that he has early stage Alzheimer's. Sullenberger said that he's experiencing symptoms including difficulty recalling names and recently told stories. The retired pilot and longtime aviation safety advocate says that he hopes sharing his diagnosis will encourage others living with the disease to speak openly and face it with courage. A massive Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton named Gus sold for a record-breaking $50.1 million at a New York auction, becoming the most valuable dinosaur fossil ever sold. The roughly 67-million-year-old skeleton stands 12.5 feet tall, 38 feet long, and it's about 61% complete. Sotheby's had estimated the fossil would sell for between 20 and 30 million, but 7 bidders drove the price far higher during a brief auction. I wonder if he likes having his age disclosed. I would be upset. Poor Gus. It is coming up on 13 minutes past the hour. When we return, we will speak with a woman who's turned her experiences into a creative community to help others feel. We will have a lot about that. Plus, meteorologist Mike Favetta's forecast. We are in the middle of a heat wave. Yesterday broke 90. We're going to do it again today. And we are taking your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato, now live on the East Coast and the West Coast and our channel in Florida on FLA.com. Don't go away. We're back in 2 minutes. A very good morning. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is, wow, a Wednesday. Crazy. Live in New York and New Jersey. And we are now welcoming our friends in Los Angeles and in Florida at 15 minutes past the hour. Taking your calls at 888-658-0234. Straight to our friend meteorologist Mike Favetta, who is hot, hot, hot. It's going to be in the 90s again, sir.
Very warm again today. Yeah, up feeling around 100 with the humidity, so unusually hot. With all of the clear sky today, there will be some haze in the sky due to some wildfire smoke. That rolls in through this afternoon. You can see with the futurecast, high pressure sitting off to our north and west, and those clouds working in from the Midwest by the afternoon. Really, that it's the kind of gray sky we'll see from that smoke through this afternoon. And then later on this evening into tomorrow, clearing with some wet weather coming in by Saturday. So hour by hour, you can see into tomorrow and Friday, a nice clearing to finish out the work week dry. But Saturday brings back some wet weather that'll likely keep some showers around for most of the day. It looks to be a pretty wet day. Sunday could start off a bit wet, but clearing through the afternoon, especially for the big game or any watch parties you may have as the big game takes over up in East Rutherford. So here's the deal with the smoke. You can see all these red dots here up in Canada, right over the border, over the Great Lakes, and that smoke is settling down to the northeast today. The forecast models have the smoke becoming pretty concentrated later on this afternoon after 5 and 6 o'clock. You see this bright shade of red appear just as the sun is setting and then sinking south through 8 or 9 o'clock this evening. So the sunset this evening is going to be spectacular with that smoke around, but the sky condition, not so blue, kind of a little gray, and that also impacts air quality as well through this evening, especially as the cooler air sinks on in with that drier weather forecast. Air quality today up in the unhealthy group for sensitive groups, meaning that those with respiratory issues or asthma need to take it easy, because as that smoke concentrates closer to the ground later on this evening, we'll likely see that air quality drop. Into this afternoon with that clear sky again, keep an eye to the sky because it'll be sort of a milky, hazy white as that smoke settles in. But the worst part of the smoke happens after the peak heating of the day, probably around 6 or 7 o'clock, as the atmosphere cools and tends to shrink closer back to the ground. It's called the PBL, or planetary boundary layer, as it arrives closer down to the surface of the Earth. Ken, happens every day.
As opposed to a BBM, which is when one has eaten too many tacos the night before. That's a whole other broadcast, which we will wait until tonight for. But thank you, sir. I
You bet.
appreciate you as always. In the meantime, I am fanning myself sitting here. AC just doesn't keep up. It is currently 76 degrees. Wow, that's warm for this hour. 76 in Trenton. It's 73 in northern New Jersey and California right now. 68 Los Angeles, 69 degrees San Diego. Traffic, we go to the Garden State Parkway. We have a disabled vehicle right now northbound north of the Driscoll Bridge. This is in Sayreville. All lanes are open, as you can see, but just a little brake check as people are going past that. You can see it's off on the left side there, and they're taking care of that. Hopefully that'll be towed away soon enough. Other issues right now to tell you about are really just some slowdowns. Route 21 typical. Also Garden State Parkway from 148 to 150. Those are just normal morning slowdowns due to volume. We look at the Hudson River crossings. Let's go to the Lincoln Tunnel. Well, actually, we'll tell you about the Lincoln. We don't have the camera right now, but the Lincoln Tunnel right now is going to cost you 30 minutes in 495 buildup as people face east. They come around the helix. They get the sun in their eyes, and that's causing that problem. Holland Tunnel, Route 139, the approach off of the turnpike right now is going to cost you a solid 40 minutes. Look at those stopped vehicles making your way to the Holland Tunnel. And we go over to the GWB, which is not so bad. Upper and lower levels, 80-95 approach, actually moving quite well. It's only 20 to 25 minutes in. As you can see, upper levels on the right, lowers on the left. To Los Angeles we go. We got a couple of accidents. One is in Antelope Valley. This is on State Route 14 at West Lancaster Boulevard. Another accident in West Valley at 101 and Cheeseboro Road. And we have a serious accident that happened. Let's see, this is in South LA at East Florence and Pacific Boulevard. Well, at just 24 years of age, Crystal Durham is turning her experiences into a creative community to help others feel supported. She's the founder of the Major Society. That's a creative agency that helps promote brands and creators, and she's preparing for the Powerhouse Experience in Jersey City this August. Let's welcome her. Good morning to you, Crystal.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Glad I'm not sitting in that traffic. That's what I'm happy about. That's a good thing. So tell us about the Major Society. What made you start that? A lot of people your age are thinking about getting a first job. You're like, I'm going to open a business. I know what I'm doing here, and that's awesome. What made you start it?
So I grew up in a rural community. I was really the only person in my community who kind of looked like me. And with that experience, it came with a lot of hardship. I had to learn how to kind of have my own voice and be confident in the way that I show up in the room. Um, and I always say that I wish that the major society was something that younger kids had when I was my age. It's really supposed to be a place where people can feel at home, and honestly grow their skills. So, whether that be photography, film, styling, modeling, my really biggest goal when I was younger, dealing with those hardships, the four walls of my home where I grew up at was really where I was able to express myself and my creative ventures. So our slogan for the Major Society is a creative's home. So the goal for that is to kind of tell people that you can come here, grow, and build. It's also for established creators as well, but the main goal is to let people know that this group is allowed. You're allowed to tinker, you're allowed to build, and really express yourself in a space that is safe.
So, Crystal, you're first of all, we should tell everybody that you had experiences of being bullied. You were even homeless at one time, which is a major, major deal. People, that's the one thing I always talk to groups about. That is, usually people, if they have a roof over their heads, no matter where it is, even if it's in a friend's house, or if they have that and they have food, the rest of it is going to be stressful, but they can get by. When you're homeless and you don't have those two basics, that becomes the focus. And the fact that you've not only overcome that, but actually you thrive, probably in spite of that, is just, it says so much about Crystal and about your spirit. Did those experiences, would you say, help really shape where you are right now?
I would definitely say so. I have this big saying now, stepping more into my business, that it's healing so many different parts of me. Just with the amount of donations and the people being willing to just be a part, it showed me that hard seasons are not something where you should feel like you failed, but it should be a pivot to more blessings. The biggest goal for the Powerhouse experience, we're talking about pushing through adversity. And I like to be someone who has, I guess, practiced what you preach in a sense. But I
Mhm.
guess in a way, it has given me hope in a sense. And I think that's what the world needs now. The world needs hope. And I think as a creator, um, you are allowed to be in these creative spaces. You can have a life, a healthy life, a promising life as a creator, especially now with social media so prominent.
So when you invite people to your space, right? And they are what kind of creation are we talking about? Are we talking about general art? Are we talking about social media creation or all of the above? Is it if they're a creative individual, if they feel like they are being criticized or bullied, they have a safe space, they could come to your place and do whatever work they have to do. Is that basically it?
Yeah, so we amplify voices. The biggest thing is we give first opportunities. So with the panel, we've picked four individuals who dominate within business, photography, film, art, and we're allowing them to share their stories to a group, on August 22nd. But the biggest thing is what we really do, it's more social media. So there's kind of two sides to the brand. There's one side where we're very community focused, event driven. We just got done doing our major impact event for college students and young career professionals. But this event is for creators who still need that push and that inspiration to keep moving forward despite what life throws at them.
So I
And
don't I don't mean to step on you, Crystal. I'm just saying, say I'm a 50, 60-year-old man at a cocktail party and I come up to you and say, so what do you do? They're going to say, I don't
Mhm.
understand any of that. What does that mean in English? I don't mean to be to the point. So I have an office. It's a promotional publicist office. People come here and they
Mhm.
can work, and now we're going to have them tell their story. Just I'm a little confused overall. I just want people to understand what it is in kind of direct, short, 2 sentence English, what it is that this is?
Yeah, so the Major Society is a creative agency where we help creators establish themselves in different spaces, but we also
See,
give
right there, I'm going to
opportunities where
pause
they.
you. I don't understand what that. See, you got to think of the old man here. I don't understand what that means. Creators establish themselves in different spaces. I don't understand that. So just tell me, does that mean that by creator you mean somebody who's social media and
Social
in
media, art
different spaces?
model.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like different art galleries, or we may have them team up with a brand that we're working with to do social media content creation for like grand openings or different, promoting different foods, stuff like that. And
That's
then,
it. So
yeah, that.
I'd forgive me. Please forgive my ignorance, Crystal. I'm not trying to intimidate. I literally, last night, you could ask our producer, Izzy. Last night, I went back and forth with Izzy and said, I think this is awesome, but I'm really confused. I just want to make sure that the message gets out, that it's crystal clear for all the efforts that you're doing, because you're an awesome person who's done so much. And I just want to make sure that it's communicated well, because this is what I do. I've been a communicator for 45 years. It's what I do. I've worked at the networks for 45 years. And when I look at it and hear this, I'm like, it probably makes sense on a generational level to somebody in their 20s, to somebody in their 50s and 60s. I couldn't understand a word of it. And I'm not belittling. I just don't understand. And that's why I needed that translation. You did a beautiful job right there. That's perfect. Let's talk about we have a couple of minutes left here. I want to say what the Jersey City Powerhouse is, because I think a lot of people outside of Jersey City don't know what the powerhouse is. So this used to be the power plant for the PATH trains. They abandoned it. It was falling apart. And now it's sort of become an artistic community in that area, right? So it's being
Mhm,
revitalized, galleries, studios, and the New Jersey
mhm.
Symphony Center is coming there. So the hope is it'll eventually become the sort of art and retail hub for Jersey City. So talk about, based on that, the Powerhouse Experience event you got coming up.
So the Powerhouse Experience is a night for creators to connect and create. We have a live panel session. We'll have giveaways that has been generously donated by Casino Pier in Breakwater Beach. We'll also have complimentary drinks, and it will be hosted by Tanny Kurt. He is a creator that is based in New York City. So we're really, really excited about that. But as I was mentioning earlier, we did pick 4 creators who dominate in the photography, film, and just art industry overall to speak to the audience about being able to push through adversity. So it's really a night for creation. It's a night to kind of push yourself out there, come out there and network,
Mhm.
but also have fun too. We'll do different activations, such as like a build a bag station. People will be able to do content creation opportunities. So it's a bunch of fun, and we're just excited for August 22nd.
I love that you're doing it. I think you're an awesome person. I think you are a survivor who is going to shine for the rest of your life because you have it in you. And I want you back on. Whenever you'd like to, please come back. I hope this event goes perfectly for you. Crystal Durham, founder of the Major Society in Jersey City, thank you for coming on and blessing us this morning. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much and have a good day.
You too, Crystal. All right, 28 minutes past the hour. When we come back, New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani causes a furor when he releases an ethnic neighborhood map of New York City, leaves out the most famous ethnic neighborhood, maybe one of the two, because you could say Harlem certainly is probably the most famous ethnic neighborhood, but he also left out Little Italy. Yeah, we're going to speak with the president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition about that. And the phone lines are open. We'll take calls at 888 658 0234. We're back in 2 minutes. Very good morning, 31 minutes past the hour, Wednesday, July 15th. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta as the Northeast is in the middle of a heat wave. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ken. We're going to be baking again later on this afternoon. A little sizzle rolling through New Jersey, but this time with some smoky skies as some wildfire smoke works in this afternoon. So that lovely shade of blue you see this morning kind of going and giving way to a kind of dim shade of gray as that smoke settles. All the clear sky through the working in through the north and west will take over through this afternoon. And then again, we'll see that smoke lower through the atmosphere. Out west, really west of the wildfire smoke, used to have a lot of clear sky. The west coast looking dry this morning and nice and clear as that low pressure just off to the south of LA and the desert there keeps some clouds around into tomorrow. But still not unexpected this time of year, even as some of that clear sky works in throughout tomorrow. Saturday, a little bit of a cloudier finish for our friends down watching on our LA channel, onlaca.com. So with all of the wet weather over the Rockies and the mountains, the desert stays nice and dry. Right down toward the coast today, another warm day setting up for you. It's going to be hot here across the East Coast with the rain suppressed to our south. None of this wet weather reaches us. We even have a little chance of a sprinkle early tomorrow morning, but I think ultimately we wind up staying rather dry. We'll tell you more about that smoke and give you details on what's going on with the drought situation as well, Ken. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Wait a minute. We just had like 16 bajillion gallons of rain. We had floods all over the place. We had houses being washed out to the Atlantic Ocean. And you're telling me we got a frickin' drought? And New Jersey, I found out, I didn't realize this geography. We sit on the largest underground aquifer in the whole frickin' country for the southern half of New Jersey. And you're telling me we got another drought?
Still, these droughts, they last months and months and months. So it's been ongoing since the wintertime.
I think this is all part of a diabolical plot. This is a plot. I'm telling you. I'll ask our next guest. Andre Domino knows all about this stuff. You do not
Okay.
want to piss off Andre Domino. I'm just saying. I know about Andre. He's a good guy, but he doesn't take it. Andre's a very patient man until you push him to here. You start asking him about gravy versus sauce, it's all over. Just saying. All right. I'll check back with you, Mr. Favetta. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. It is 75 degrees right now, northern New Jersey, 76 in Trenton. In California, Los Angeles, it is 68, 67 degrees right now in San Diego. In terms of traffic, what we have is a crash right now. Let's go to 295. This is southbound, south of exit 60, which is by 195, Route 129 Hamilton. Do we have it, Ben? 295 shot? There it is. Uh, yeah, it literally 30 seconds ago, that was absolutely stopped. Pam's like, you really want to see this now? Again, it's moving. All right. Well, it's good that it's moving. Maybe they cleared it up. Let's hope. Okay. We have right now, let's see, there's also Route 21 in Belleville, caused some slowdowns right there. And we have some slowdowns between exits 148 and 150 on the Garden State Parkway. That's just volume. And right now, the Lincoln Tunnel approach is going to cost you 30 minutes. Holland Tunnel is going to be 35 to 40. Look at the Route 139 extension off of the Turnpike to the tunnel. It is an absolute mess. Just bumper to bumper. See those? That looks like a parking lane. No, that's actually a lane going into the Holland Tunnel. The people on the left and the far right are going to local roads. Those two lanes there, right there, the big box truck, that's making your way into the tunnel, and it is stopped. So that is 40 minutes to get into Manhattan right now. The GWB upper and lower levels, really not bad at all. It's actually on the 8095 approach, moving pretty well, about 30 miles an hour. That's really good. Well, maybe that's more like 20. But that's going to cost you about 20 minutes. Not so bad a lot. Off to the west coast we go, and we have a traffic collision reported Antelope Valley. This is on State Route 14 at West Lancaster Road, and we have a serious accident that just happened in South LA at East Florence and Pacific. It is 35 minutes past the hour. Mayor Zoran Mamdani's administration is under fire for recently releasing a map of New York City's ethnic neighborhoods, and it conspicuously left out the city's white ethnic neighborhoods. There are white ethnic people. As an Italian American news anchor, when I worked for ABC, I was told by the GM that Greeks, Italians, Spaniards are referred to as white ethnics in the broadcast industry. Whether that's legal or not, that's what we were called because we had a little tan to our skin. Okay. Places like Woodlawn in the Bronx, which is famous as an Irish neighborhood. Borough Park, Brooklyn, famous as an enclave for ultra Orthodox Jews. Astoria, Queens. 40,000 Greeks live in Astoria, Queens. Probably the most famous ethnic neighborhood in America, of course, is Little Italy. One of the reasons people come to New York, one of the first things they go to once they come for theater, let's go tonight to Little Italy. Well over 150 years old. Mamdani's response to the omissions? Well, it wasn't intended to be a comprehensive map. Oh, so you have 30 other neighborhoods most people have never heard of, but you forget the biggies that happen just by coincidence to all be white neighborhoods. Amazingly, though, Mamdani's people listed 3 little Guyanas. Did you know there were little Guyanas in New York? 3 Chinatowns, not 1, but 3. 2 little Mexicos, and even a neighborhood called, and you tell me if you've ever heard of this place, Little Bod Tibet. Now, I've heard of Tibet, but what the hell is a BHOD? I don't know what Bod is, and I know geography pretty well. But he has a Bod Tibet, but he doesn't have Little Italy. 28 of the 30 ethnic neighborhoods listed are non-white. Listen, everybody deserves a shot, but white people still make up about 40%, 45% of the New York City market. New York City, 45%. How do you leave 45% of the population off? Well, so much for being the mayor of all the people. Mamdani also says the map was created. Oh, it was created before me, 2023. But it's his administration that released it. If this was released under Mayor Adams, there would have been a furor. That's probably why it wasn't released. But Mamdani's people couldn't wait to. I'm sorry. Yes, I will get our guest up. I promise. I mean, they could have quickly modified this and sent it out again, but no, they didn't do that, did they? Okay, I've ranted. With me this morning to talk about it is Andre Domino, president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition, to discuss why omissions like this matter. Good morning, Andre. Thank you for letting me rant.
Listening to your rant, you got my blood boiling again, because when this map came out, it was just such a disgrace. It shouldn't have been done. And listen, why should we be surprised with Mayor Mamdani? We know what he wants to do. He wants to change New York, and certainly what he's doing. Little Palestine, little Yemen, and no Little Italy? Come on.
I mean, if you think about the populations of those neighborhoods, and by the way, I love checking out ethnic neighborhoods. I love checking out the food. I love seeing the cost. I love that. I'm not angry about a Little Palestine. I applaud Little Palestine. I think it's awesome. I love the fact that there's a little Yemen. I want to see what they're like. This is like traveling to Yemen without having to travel to Yemen. That's a cool thing, but you don't do it at the expense of the other people and say, we'll erase the white neighborhoods and just call these other neighborhoods, and that way it'll go away and we could create the multicultural city we want. Well, forgetting about the fact that for 150, 200 years, Italians built so much of New York, and so much of it wouldn't exist without them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what an omission, I think a deliberate omission of Little Italy. That's probably one of the only places that is actually called Little Italy, and people come from all over to visit Little Italy. We've all got roots there. My mother's family came from Sicily and landed there in the early 1900s on Mott Street. And so I was born in Brooklyn, and we all know about Little Italy. And to just leave it off, what an iconic neighborhood to leave off the map. Again, I think it was deliberate. And, after all the uproar from the Italian American organizations, which I'm proud that all these organizations stood up and said that, but we're still waiting. He said it was going to put it back. It's still not there. So listen, I think it's clear what the situation is.
This is the same guy who, before he was mayor, when he was an assemblyman, posted a picture of himself sticking his middle finger up at the Columbus statue. So are we shocked that he would literally put out an ethnic map that doesn't show a neighborhood that's that big in Lower Manhattan, surrounded now by Chinatown, but Chinatown and Little Italy get along great, because I know all my Italian friends in Little Italy love Chinese food. They go and hang out in Chinatown. It's an awesome place to hang out. But this is, again, it's not about having a problem with the other communities. It's about erasing us. Excuse me, that's the problem. You don't make us go away when we're still there. That's if Little Italy closed up shop, of course, you can maybe put a little parenthesis, this used to be Little Italy. There's still 40, 50, 60,000 people living in Little Italy, and all the restaurants and everything else. You can't say it's gone, it's there. And just like our cousins from another mother in Greece are wonderful. We love the Greeks, the Italians and the Greeks. Hey, Sicily was created, but for the most part, by the Greeks. So, Siragusa was a Greek establishment. So we love our Greek cousins, and they have been wiped off the map. Astoria was all Greek, 40,000. The Irish, who worked so damn hard up in Woodlawn in the Bronx, gone. No reference at all. So just coincidentally, just the white neighborhoods were gone.
Yeah,
Are we all that stupid?
Again, the Irish, and what about the Jewish neighborhoods? Same thing. We don't hear. Listen, as I said, I think it's deliberate. You talk about Little Italy, people saying, well, there's not many Italians live there. Yeah, but it's a historic place. In fact, just recently, the beautiful new Italian-American Museum opened up on Mulberry Street. So it's an anchor for the Italian ancestry that came into this country. That a lot of families went through there. A number of us have roots there. And to eliminate Little Italy and not mention the Irish and the Jewish and all those other neighborhoods, unfortunately, this is the mayor that we have. And, I think it's divide and conquer. We should look for unifying people, not dividing people. But it's unfortunate that I really believe that this was deliberate.
Absolutely. Pam, can you bring up the map? We should have the map. I want to show the map. Well, she has to pull it up. It's on a whole string of stuff, but I want to bring it up and point something out. Because one of the arguments was this only shows recent arrivals. Okay. So it's hard to tell on that. But bottom line is, yet Harlem is denoted. Harlem doesn't have recent arrivals. Harlem is one of the great treasures of New York. I also love Harlem. But that was, it's every type of logical explanation doesn't pass the smell test. Every single one does not pass the smell. You could tell this was created by someone in his administration, or it could have been the Adams administration, but it was never published under the Adams administration for a reason. They probably said, if this gets published, people are going to be pissed off. Don't publish that. That's probably what happened, because Mayor Adams is a pretty rational guy. If you sit down and talk to Mayor Adams, he's the closest thing to a Republican we've had in 20 years in New York City. So the fact is, and the Italian American One Voice Coalition, you have been wonderful with creating associations of people with common goals, whether it be Native Americans, or in this case, the Irish and the Greeks and the Jews. You're like, we don't want to dominate. We just want to be present. And you're erasing us. If this were done to the new arrival communities, there would be riots in the street. But it's okay to do it to Italians and Jews and Greeks. Just take us for granted, because in the Mamdani world, he does not foresee a future with anyone but non-white people. And that is his goal. That's what he wants to see. New York City, 50% of all New Yorkers were not born there.
Well, you said it before. We know where he was at, because with respect to Italian Americans, he did give the finger to the Columbus statue and say, take it down. So we've got to stay vigilant and watch him, because what's he going to do? Not give the permit for the San Gennaro feast in Little Italy? Is he going to stop the Columbus Day parade? It's unfortunate, but we think that the die is cast with this mayor, and he wants to change New York, and he's going to do it by separating people and ignoring our history. And we just can't let it happen.
Well, here, just to let you know how this show stands, my last name is Rosato, your last name is Domino, and we have a lady coming up who's also, let's just say, of an Italian extraction, who's going to be talking fashion in just a minute. But we welcome everybody. See, there's the difference. Everybody is welcome on this show, period. So nobody is excluded. So my dear friend, Andre Domino, the website IAOVC.org, the Italian American One Voice Coalition, IAOVC.org. Andre Domino, president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition. We love you, my friend. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Ken. Take care.
You bet. You too. I'm going to be on WOR Radio this Friday for my dear friend Mark Simone, and we're going to talk more about that. We're going to have our dear friend Andre on to talk about this issue more. It is 45 minutes past the hour. When we come back, what does dressing up mean today? You dressing up used to be put on a tie, whatever. As a guy, dressing up has different interpretations by different people. On New Jersey's fashion expert, Dawn Del Russo, will be here to talk about it. We're back in 2. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato, 48 minutes past the hour. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta on another sweltering day in the middle of a heat wave, smack dab in the middle. So today is like in the middle of everything. It's the middle of the
Yeah,
month,
it
it's the
is.
middle of the week, and it's the middle of the heat wave. The middle. Malcolm.
The
I'm going to call
middle.
myself Malcolm because I'm in
And
the
we're going
middle.
to add some smoke on top of that to kind of create the nice little middle of the month, week, everything sandwich. Because there are some smoky skies on the way later on this afternoon. You don't see them on the satellite picture. This is the infrared channel, so it only shows the highest cloud tops where the cold cloud tops are, such as the thunderstorms down south and these showers that are over the upper Midwest. All of that smoke arriving later today thanks to the flow of that wind direction around the high pressure, giving us our heat and our hot weather for the rest of the day. Now, once we get into Saturday, things start to clear out with the dry weather. We'll get some rain in here by the end of the day, and then some showers exit for Sunday morning, leading to a pretty dry start to next week and a little bit cooler as well as the next weather system pushes through. But by the middle of next week, I think that's when it'll really feel more comfortable as we kind of push all of this heat out of here. So the futurecast showing the fronts later on this evening, removing the humidity as it slides southward, driving in some of that clear air. It'll clear out the skies for tomorrow as well. And then Friday, high pressure and control, leading to a nice dry start to our Friday afternoon. Saturday sees some wet weather around, luckily not a totally rainy day, just a few scattered showers with extra clouds. And then Sunday starts off a little wet but clears up by the afternoon. So we have cooler than average weather. That'll be a nice change for the second half of the month, taking us into the end of July, warmer down south, and slightly higher than average wet weather chances going into the end of the month as well. What does that mean for the ongoing drought? Well, it'll mean an improvement given how parts of northern New Jersey have dried out to the point where it's only a moderately dry ground, not a severe drought like has been the case for the last few weeks. So all of those buckets of rain that we've had, Ken, over the last several weeks are actually making a dent in the drought, and that's some good news.
That's a good thing because I'm running out of buckets. Let's put it that way. And it's funny. It's like unless you have about a foot of standing water, we still have a drought. I don't understand this. It's very confusing to me. But then again, I'm not that smart, so it all works out. Mike, we appreciate you very much, sir. Thank you.
You bet.
Oh my God, Mike's like, God, Ken, you're ruining it. You're ruining it. You're ruining it. I have a message I'm trying to send you. You're ruining it. 76 degrees right now in Trenton and 76 also actually northern New Jersey. It is 69 degrees now, Los Angeles, and 68 degrees, San Diego. And we go to our friend. We go to our friend Dawn here. We want to talk about fashion. So here's the deal. For years, when we talked about, we're going out, we're getting dressed up. That meant reaching for your best dress, a tailored suit, a polished pair of shoes. When I was at Channel 7 for 20 years, Channel 5 before that for a few years, I always wore a tie. I wore a white shirt. Channel 7 was big on a white or a powder blue shirt for its male anchors. They preferred a very simple suit. They didn't want a fancy window pane. They wanted a simple gray, black, navy. We call that IBM suit outfit. That's what IBM used to have, business apparel. But with the rise of remote work and athleisure, a more casual approach has changed the dress code dramatically. So what does dressing up actually mean today? Joining us this morning to talk about it, fashion expert Dawn Del Russo of livetheglamour.com. That's live the GLAMOUR, British spelling, to talk about why she believes it may be time to bring a little more glamour back into our lives. Good morning to you, Dawn.
Good morning, Ken. I need fashion to come back and be a little bit more elevated. So
I'm
I've
kind of
been
tired of seeing I'm sorry, just to say, ripped sweats, dirty socks, people who look like they rolled out of bed coming in and thinking that that's professional. I'm done with that.
I know I call it like the sneaker pandemic. We had the pandemic, and then now it's like after that happened, no one got out of that clothing. It became so casual and okay to put sweatpants and sneakers on no matter where you went. And now, like long ago, years ago, women would change their shoes to run around the city, and you'd have your heels on, and you take the heels off to walk around and put your sneakers on. But immediately, when you went back into your office, you had those heels back on. You were dressed and put together. Now there's been this like, well, it's okay the sneakers work. You could do, maybe a designer pair of sneakers and then it's okay. And it really muddled the water and what was dressing up versus what's casual. And there was an article written recently that I read by Vanessa Friedman, and as soon as I read this article, I was like, I need to talk about this, because there's been so much thought around what is actually dressing up anymore. Where do we stand with that? People are hesitant. They don't want to put the fancy outfit on because they feel like no one else will be dressed, that I'll be overdressed. My answer to that is, like you've probably heard a million times, you can't be overdressed. It's always better to show up a little bit more dressed than underdressed. But the whole talk was, what does it actually mean? Where do we stand with it? How do people think about around dressing up? And she concluded that it was more about the intention of dressing and what intention you put behind it. And as you're standing there getting dressed, whether it's in the morning or going to an event, how do you want to present yourself? How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? Those things and the emotions go into it more than just like a rule that someone's telling you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting to say that. I was at lunch a few weeks ago, and I was greeted by a woman at the host stand. I'm afraid to say hostess because now it sounds like I'm being misogynistic. It's like, I'm trying to say a female host. Okay. We used to use the word hostess without disrespect, and now it's like you get slapped for it. But she was a hostess. Okay. Right. Let's not make the politically correct people rule the roost.
I know.
Anyway, so she was lovely. She was absolutely adorable. Hair done beautifully, makeup on, very sweet smile. But she was wearing a hoodie that was kind of like a fashion hoodie. It was oversized. It came down to her mid thigh. And then she had her bare legs and then sneakers. And while she looked cute, I'm thinking it was a very formal restaurant. And I'm thinking, I was kind of mixed. I thought about it and say a word about it to anyone I was with, because you could see she took time for every other aspect of her presentation. It wasn't like she was rolled out of bed. But I thought to myself, is that where we are today? So it feels like it's just because hoodies just don't strike me as formal enough for anything but the gym.
It's not. I don't think so at all. And I really wish there was more of an answer to that we shouldn't be really wearing that stuff to those places, especially for work. I say this all the time, and I think the whole remote work did change it a lot. And it was like, well, I don't really need to get dressed up. It doesn't really matter. There's this comfort. I actually interviewed someone to work for me, and she showed up. It's such a nice girl, sweet, just so casual that I said, how can I even let that represent who I am? If you're going to, whether we're going to things together or you're going to an event where you show up representing my brand, how can I expect you to go there, especially working in fashion? I mean, I'm talking working in fashion. And it was so casual that outside of that, any like corporate jobs, working in an atmosphere where people are around you, I think there has to be some level of consideration for what you're wearing and how you're going to look, because it does matter. I mean, even like the airport, getting on an airplane, I see people show up in pajamas and think like, did you change? Like, did you switch from what you wore to bed to what you're showing up in the airport? And I say the whole answer when someone's, it's comfortable. I need to be comfortable. There are plenty of outfits, plenty of things that you can wear to still have that same comfort, but look put together and how you present yourself. And that really does lead into what people think of you. Everyone wants to argue like it shouldn't matter what I wear and it's about my personality, who I am. And I disagree with that. I do not think that I think first impressions really do matter. And we do still live in a society, and I think it's okay that we live in a society where someone's going to look at you and judge you on what you're wearing, how you're showing up to work, how you're looking at, at a restaurant, at an airport, at occasions that you're going to. And if you are wearing sneakers or flip-flops or really dressed down baggy jeans, it doesn't really present you in a way that someone's going to take you seriously.
Yeah. Just a quick story on the way out. I remember when I was doing radio on Long Island about 100 years ago, we had our morning producer show up wearing a T-shirt. I'm not kidding. Before I say that, he had spent the morning talking about the fact that he had to go fight a speeding ticket. He had to go to court that morning. and he was wearing shorts and a T-shirt that said "F," full word, "F the system." And I
Oh,
said, "Are you going to go home and change first?" And he said, "No." And we had this debate. He was like 20 years old. I was maybe in my 30s. We have 30. We had this debate, and he said, "No, it shouldn't matter what I wear." I said, "Right. It shouldn't matter what you wear, but it does. It does. First impression. You see somebody coming at you with a baseball bat and an angry face, you are going to judge the person whether you want to or not. It is automatic. You're not actively choosing to judge the person. It is part of your protection mechanism in your brain. And when somebody comes at you, like when you see that judge and you have a shirt that says F the system, guess what? The judge is the system. He's saying F you. So he said, "Well, I'm going to wear it." I said, "I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you polite advice to a friend." Next day he came in looking bummed.
Right.
He not only got the full ticket, he got extra points and he got an extra fine because
Yep,
the
there's
judge said,
easy
"You're coming into
answers.
my courtroom." Yeah, it's very simple.
Exactly.
If he had a plain white
Get
T-shirt,
dressed
he would have
up.
been fine. It's very simple.
Exactly.
On New
I say it all
Jersey's,
the time.
and you're right. You're right. On New Jersey's fashion expert, our dear friend Don Del Russo of livetheglamour.com. That's livetheglamour.com. We love you. Thank you for coming on this morning, Don. Dress up.
Thank you. Yes.
It is 59 minutes past the hour. Those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news. If you're watching on New Jersey, we will be back with New Jersey news, opinion, weather, and traffic. Thanks for watching. Very good morning, 8:02, Wednesday, July 15th. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It's going to be a hot one, middle of a heat wave. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full hot Garden State forecast. Mike?
Here we go. Good morning, Ken. Sorry, the computer was just loading slowly. The scroll
Take two.
wheel stopped.
Mike?
The scroll wheel. So I'm trying to work with the scroll wheel, and it's just going the opposite direction. So it's the stickiness of the humidity, right? Nothing wants to work today. It's probably condensation on everything, as is the case with that high humidity around this morning. So we start off with a little bit of that warm weather right now from Newark and Hackensack, already 81 degrees at 8 a.m. Long Branch, 80 degrees this morning, 81 in Flemington, and with that humidity sky high, disregard this little blip in the matrix right there from Mount Holly and Medford. But with all of the very humid air that's in place, the high humidity from Newark and Flemington and Trenton, this is like Miami levels of humidity, and this will feel very warm going into this afternoon. On top of that, we have the wildfire smoke that arrives later today. So all these red dots here in Canada are the big wildfires in Canada that are spreading the wildfire smoke eastward through the course of this afternoon. And the computer models are forecasting that by, say, 5, 6 p.m., you see the shade of yellow and red work its way south along the cold front. That will concentrate this smoke closer to the ground and lower our forecast air quality, also bring back kind of a hazy milkiness to the sky right in through this evening. It will make for a pretty stellar sunset, but it's not the healthiest air to breathe as those particulates are working through the atmosphere. On top of that, it's going to feel like 100 later today, so the news just keeps getting better. Right up through Bergen County, 101 is our actual air temperature, 103 in Trenton, and down the turnpike staying warm throughout today. Tomorrow, not as humid, but it's still hot. Actual air temperatures climb into the mid-90s, and then we once more make it back to the 90s for Friday, right up there, around 90 degrees, 89 there in Newark for the end of the week. Saturday looks a little wet, and then I think Sunday morning clears out by the afternoon after a little bit of a wet start. So the next few days, smoky today. Thursday, on Friday, we're back to the 90s on the end of the week, and then Friday into Saturday sees those clouds return with some wet weather to kick off the weekend. We'll tell you more about the next week's weather with the 7-day forecast, Ken, coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, appreciate it, sir. 8:04 right now, and it is hot. We have a temp of 75 degrees already, northern New Jersey. It is 80 degrees right now in Trenton at 8:05 in the morning. That's like hotter than Fort Lauderdale is right now. It's crazy. 68 degrees on the West Coast. Think about that. Go to LA and cool off. In terms of traffic, we have a few issues right now. Garden State Parkway, let's go to this. There is a crash. GSP southbound north of exit 136, Stiles Street, Cranford. All lanes open, as you can see. Just looks a little, doesn't even look that slow. They're only going about 30 miles an hour. That's not so bad. So that's the issue. But this is at 136 in Cranford Township. We have a vehicle fire. We do not have a camera shot for. It's out right now. But on Route 4 eastbound, Route 17, Paramus, very busy interchange. The right lane is closed, and that's causing about 2 miles of backups right now. We have a crash on 295 down by exit 60, 195 in Hamilton. The right shoulder's closed, and the Hudson River crossings. Lincoln right now is going to cost you about 35 to 40. The Holland is going to be about 45. And the GWB upper and lower levels actually moving pretty well, considering you can see the lower level on the left and the upper on the right, and that's a solid 30. 8:06 right now is our time. And for decades, the Actors Fund Home, I should say, in Englewood, has provided care and support for the people who have spent their careers working both on stage and behind the scenes. And now the nationally recognized facility is entering a new chapter with a newly formed board of trustees and honorary council as it continues its mission of providing exceptional care. Joining us this morning is Jordan Stroll, who's the executive director of the Actors Fund Home. Good morning, Jordan. Good to have you on.
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you. So talk about when this was founded and the purpose behind funding it and founding it.
So the home actually dates back to the it's really 60s when it started as a retirement home. And over the years, over the last several decades, it's added many pieces. The nursing home was formed in the 1980s. The retirement home was converted into assisted living in the 90s. And in 2016 through 18, we did a pretty substantial expansion project, which brought us a subacute building, as well as a assisted living memory care unit, and repurposed a lot of that building. So it's been around for about 40 plus years, and the home is here to take care of people, certainly in the entertainment industry.
So, and it serves everyone, right? From actors and musicians to stagehands and writers and designers and any entertainment professional. So what makes caring for this particular community unique? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you first.
First of all, they're great individuals. They have amazing talent, and they have amazing careers, and their stories are incredible to hear. These are all people that were associated with the industry, like you just alluded to, whether it be on the screen or on the stage, behind the scenes, stagehand. And their stories are incredible, and they come here to make sure they get quality of life, and in their time of need, the Actors Fund Home is here to take care of them and make sure that whatever their medical needs are, we're able and capable of serving.
And being in the quasi entertainment industry in the news, TV and radio, I always say radio is the lowest rung of the ladder. TV, then TV news is next, and then you get Broadway and theater, whatever, and movies get up to the top. There's like that pecking order. And what I've discovered over the years, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so many people leave wherever they are, all over the country, all over the world, and come to the New York area because this is where it's at, right? It's
Yeah.
LA and New York, LA and New York. And so they're kind of on their own. And many of them end up divorced or don't have a spouse or a partner because they're married to their career. You
Yeah.
could be working, you do 2 or 3 matinees a week in Broadway and then work 7 nights a week. You have no
Yeah.
family life. It is, people
Yeah.
think, oh, it's glamorous. I have friends who do Broadway stuff. They get $200 a show to do dance. It's not easy. You work your butt off. And this is the epicenter. This is Broadway. TV
Yeah.
news has become the same thing. So these people do not retire millionaires. A lot of them retire pretty poor after
They
spending,
do.
7 nights a week working. So that's why they need a place like this, right?
Yeah, most of our residents, 75% of our residents end up on New Jersey State Medicaid. And Medicaid, of course, is for people that unfortunately don't have assets and don't ultimately have the capability of financial means to pay for their care. So it is subsidized. Like I said, 75% of our residents are on Medicaid, which tells you a lot of what we were just talking about. Unfortunately, those people on Broadway and a lot of people in the industry, a lot of them live paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have a lot of savings. They come in their time of need, whether it be in assisted living or, of course, nursing care. And the Actors Fund is here to take care of them and make sure they get everything they need.
Yeah, I mean, I just talked to a friend of mine right now who's on Broadway. He works in 2 different restaurants part-time.
Yeah,
He's on in 3 different shows. He does, 2 nights he's an extra here, 1 night he dances there, but and he just used to dance on the cruise ships, but that's their life and they don't want to
yeah,
change it. But then, you don't have a lot of money in the bank at the end of it all, and you don't necessarily have family or a spouse. And then this is why without someplace like you, it would be homelessness, seriously. And I'm sure you realize the profundity of what the Actors Fund Home is, that you provide. You are the last resort for these people.
we are their safety net. And when they need
Yeah.
help, they come to us, and we're there to serve, and we're there to make sure that they get, like I said, quality of life and quality of care, which is extremely important. And like you just said, a lot of these people are certainly living paycheck to paycheck, and it's really sad, but they do have a passion and a love for what they do. Their careers are everything to them. And we want to make sure that we embrace that. And when they come into the home, we encourage them to continue doing all different types of activities, which we provide. And it allows them to continue to be the individuals they are and the creative human beings that they really have become. So we certainly encourage that passion and that creativity at the home as well.
And Jordan, I know that you guys are affiliates of the Entertainment Community Fund, because I'm sure people are going to wonder, how do you raise money in order to keep this thing going? So talk about that.
Yeah, so we raise donations is what we really exist on. We're very fortunate that we have some amazing board members and supporters. A lot of the unions behind me, the building behind me is the Schubert organization, Schubert Pavilion, which was sponsored by the Schubert organization. They're a huge supporter of everything that we do, both at the home and at the Entertainment Community Fund. All of the locals are huge contributors. One of our big partners is Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Every time that a person goes to a show and they see those red buckets, and all that money ultimately is being fundraised for BCFA, a good portion of that money comes to the Entertainment Community Fund, and ultimately allows the Actors Fund Home to continue to do what we do. Because at the Medicaid rate, unfortunately, it would not allow us to continue to really provide the level of care that we offer to all of our residents.
And from the rankings, you guys run one of the best nursing homes anywhere. You guys get consistently high rankings. So you do the job well with the funds you get. For members of the entertainment community who may need the services, how could they reach out?
Best way is through our website. www.actorsfundhome.org is the best way to get us, direct you there. And through that, we would also connect us to the Entertainment Community Fund's website as well if you need those type of services or any type of financial or social services which the corporate entity provides. So the website's really the best way to get us.
You guys are literally angels sent from heaven, and there's a very special, nice place next to our creator for what you guys do. Jordan Stroll, Executive Director of the Actors Fund Home. Thank you so much for being there for all the folks who genuinely need you, and thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You bet. I think a lot of people have that misconception. They see like a Tom Cruise makes hundreds of millions of dollars. They think all the people on TV and radio and the people on Broadway, they're all rich. The majority of them can't pay a bill. They cannot pay a bill. But they do it because they love it. It is 8:13. When we come back, people are fed up with the constantly rising cost of prescription drugs. We'll speak with the head of US RX Care about that. Sunny and hot today, highs mid-90s. We're coming back in 2. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Ken Rosato at 8:16, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Hot one, straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta, talking about the heat wave, burning in my heat
Ken.
wave.
So we made it into the 90s yesterday, and I think we'll do it again today. The wildfire smoke will depend on if we make it to 100 this afternoon, but I think a lot of that smoke comes in later on this afternoon into this evening. Right now, visibility is clear, but that will change and drop dramatically throughout the afternoon, all due to that smoke. You don't see it here on the satellite picture, but by this afternoon, with more of a haze developing across our skies, I think we'll see that later today as that front sinks southward and dries us out. It's humid until then. There's your triple-digit heat right down toward the coast from Long Branch, Point Pleasant, and down toward Atlantic City. Now, ship bottoms air quality today drops, and this is the worst happening probably after 5 or 6 p.m. So it'll be unhealthy for those with respiratory issues. The further south you head, the worse the air quality is because the front takes its time to sag its way southward. And then after the front moves through, the humidity drops. So by this time tomorrow, it'll feel more comfortable. The air will feel healthier and drier, and even with that, Friday dew points are down in the 40s. That's like October level of dryness. So it'll feel really comfortable into the afternoon, even though the heat is still around. Forecast heat index at the hottest part of the day around 4 o'clock. It'll feel like 104 in Trenton. Really warm stuff. And then by tomorrow and Friday, only feeling like the low 90s and then the 80s by the end of the week. I think Saturday is still warm, even though there's some showers in the forecast. And then starting off our day on Sunday, a little bit drier by the end of the day. So the UV index is back up at an 8, which is very high. Still need the sunscreen today. All of that clear sky off to the west, helping to transport that smoke in the upper atmosphere through the end of the day along the jet stream. Going into this afternoon and tonight, cooling off a little bit, seeing a little bit more of a relief tomorrow from the humidity, although the heat takes its time to dwindle. I think by Friday afternoon, it'll feel a little bit better. And then Saturday, feeling like the 70s and 80s, thanks to some clouds and showers that'll be around by the morning hours, and then Sunday clears out again. So going a little further into time, the forecast map showing most of that clear sky taking over by Sunday afternoon into Monday. So the weekend split, even though Saturday is pretty wet and rainy, I think Sunday clears out nicely, just in time for the big game, 3 o'clock over in MetLife Stadium on what are they called? New Jersey, New York Stadium, depending on where you're from, Ken, on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, all the Manhattanites are saying it's New York, New Jersey Stadium, not New Jersey,
Whatever.
New York. Yeah, okay. Then why is it physically in the Garden State, right? I love Mike. Whatever. That's awesome. What are you gonna do? Sue me? Hey. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. We'll check back, sir. It is 76 degrees in northern New Jersey, 80 right now in Trenton, and it is 75 in Cape May at 8:19. A few things to tell you about traffic-wise. We have a crash on the Garden State Parkway. This is southbound north of exit 136 Stiles Street in Cranford. All lanes are open, but you can see just a little bit of a slowdown right there. Of course, that's why when Pam hesitates to take the shot, it's because suddenly it looks like traffic is moving. That's why she hesitates, right? She's laughing. That's why, because normally if there's bad traffic, that shot is up there. And so a second ago, that thing was bumper to bumper. Let's hope it's cleared up. That's a good thing. We have two other quickies to mention. Vehicle fire, Route 4 eastbound by Route 17, Paramus, right lane closed. Route 295 southbound, we have a crash south of exit 60 by the 195 interchange in Hamilton, right shoulders closed. Hudson River crossings right now. Let's look at Route 139 coming off of the Turnpike into the Holland Tunnel. That's going to cost you a solid 40 minutes in. Look at that. Those middle lanes go into the tube. The other lanes off to the right are local lanes. They go off into Jersey City, so they are not going into the tunnel. The ones going into the tunnel are stopped. So that tells you everything right through to Lower Manhattan that is stopped. That's a solid 40 minutes in. The Lincoln Tunnel is about 25 to 30 in the GWB, upper and lower levels, heavy but moving at about 10 to 15 right now. That's not so bad. The overall time to get in is 30 minutes from the GWB. It is 20 minutes past, and prescription drug prices are one of the rare healthcare issues bringing Americans across the political spectra together. A new Axios Ipsos poll finds broad bipartisan frustration with the cost of medications, along with growing support for new ways to make prescriptions more affordable. Joining us this morning is Renzo Luzzati, who is the founder and CEO of US RX Care, to break down what the findings reveal about the state of healthcare in America. I was saying, Renzo, between Mike Favetta, Ken Rosato, and Renzo Luzzati, we got to start a law firm. I think that's next. All for it. So, when you have the giant mega pharmacies, Walmart, you have Amazon's pharmacy, you have President Trump with his Trump RX, and you would think this would have brought down drug prices so much. What is going on, and why are the prices still so exorbitant?
Yeah, it really is an issue. I mean, if you look at the past 10, 15 years, drug prices have grown faster than the rest of the healthcare economy. It used to be, 20 years ago, drug spend was 15% of the total or 10% or less. Now you see health plans and employers that pay for a lot of healthcare spending 20, 30, 40% of their total healthcare budget on medications. And it really comes down to the fact that medication pricing in this country is set by the market. Everywhere else in the world, if you look at major countries, the governments set the prices. That's why prices in Canada are a third of what they are here in the United States. You look at England, similar. So we have free market pricing, and so the players involved ultimately can charge whatever they think the market will bear.
So are we basically bearing the brunt of the pain because the pharmaceutical companies can't make the money that they want to make in Europe and Africa and South America, so they just bill us?
In large part, the answer is yes. But you also have to understand that it's not just the drug manufacturers that are involved in the pharmaceutical ecosystem. When you look at a health plan, and most individuals get their prescriptions through their health plan, there's an entity called the pharmacy benefit manager that administers the pharmacy part of the benefit. That entity also has control over pricing. So the manufacturer sets the floor, and then the PBM, the pharmacy benefit manager, often will mark up those drugs that ultimately are paid for by the plan sponsor and shared by the member. If you're looking at a hospital or a provider, if they're administering drugs in the office or in the hospital setting, they're marking up drugs ultimately to the public. So the manufacturers are part of the equation, but there are other players in the equation also that dictate ultimately what the end user is going to pay.
So now what would you say to a pharmaceutical manufacturer who would say, well, if you want to artificially impose government pricing, then we will not have a budget in order to create new drugs for research and development. The R&D funds sometimes to come up with a new drug could be billions of dollars because of the massive government exam of the products, et cetera. So you got people dying of diseases waiting for a new drug to come out. The incentive to the company is, well, we're going to make a fortune, so let's spend the money now, we'll make it back. But if they find out they're not going to make it back, then what?
And that's the common argument, right? As an American, right, and a capitalist. I mean, everyone is entitled to make a living. Right now, we are taking the lion's share of the upfront, right? I mean, drug manufacturers need to make a profit in order to invest in R&D. They're investing billions of dollars, and they're continually coming up with breakthrough therapies that make a huge difference in people's lives, right? Keep them out of the hospital, keep them healthy. That's important. The problem is the imbalance, and you're correct. In many ways, we are subsidizing the rest of the world in terms of generating revenues and profits for drug manufacturers so they can do what they do.
So now, Renzo, you have there's in this poll, it found support for drug manufacturers selling medications directly to consumers, which I had never heard before. So you would bypass the big pharmacies who are taking a cut and instead just go directly from the manufacturer to the consumer? And what does that look like? How would that be done?
Yeah, so it is something that is growing in popularity. It's not necessarily new. There have been options where individuals could buy direct. You mentioned Trump RX. It's kind of a conduit to many of those direct-to-consumer options. The ones that have been in the press of late have been Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, the manufacturers of the most popular GLP-1s that everyone's talking about that are good for diabetes, but also for weight loss. And those manufacturers are offering deep discounted prices for cash-paying customers. The thing that's interesting there, and USR's Care is a pharmacy benefit manager, so we're part of that ecosystem of managing pharmacy benefits. We are a fiduciary, which is unique in the industry. So we're always looking out for the best interests of our clients and the members. Our goal is to provide access to medications at the lowest available cost, and usually we're able to do that at about half the industry norm. But in terms of the direct-to-consumer, the sites specifically say that it's intended not to be used with insurance. But there's been some action at the FTC looking at the large PBMs in the industry. And one of the settlements actually says that the PBM has to figure out how to work with Trump RX to access those prices. So I think the funded healthcare segment, which are the health plans and the employer-sponsored plans, are going to ultimately merge with this direct-to-consumer approach that in many ways bypasses a lot of the profit centers that are causing the increase in drug spend. You're correct in that regard.
Well, the poll also shows that people are willing to vote for candidates who want to do something about drug prices. So that'll wake up any politician who thinks that can't be something or shouldn't be something at the top of the list. Renzo, give everybody your website.
Yes, it's usrscare.com. We're a pharmacy benefit manager, been around since 2007. We have about 5 million lives under management. We serve self-funded employers that provide health benefits through their employer-sponsored plan as well as health plans. And we came into the marketplace to correct a lot of the issues that you're describing. One of it being that there's a lot of conflicts of interest that exist, pockets of profits that are not productive. And in our company, we've addressed all of those. We're having a good
Well,
time.
thank God
We're
for
very
that.
popular these
Thank God
days.
for that. You're making a lot of people happy. I mean, there are people who probably, in many cases, especially older people, a third to half of what they get from Social Security and what I was probably going right to that. So,
Crazy.
this is life or death for a lot of people, and you're providing a wonderful service. Renzo Luzzati, founder and CEO of USRX Care. Please come back again, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. It's a pleasure. All right, 8:28 when we come back. Merging streetwear with messages of strength and social change. We'll speak with the founder of the Passionate Rebel Foundation in just a moment. Good morning. It is Wednesday, July 15th, 2026, 77 degrees northern New Jersey, 80 degrees already in Trenton. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. It's sunny and hot today. Highs up to the mid 90s. We are in the middle of a Hayat Wave. So we go straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta to explain what a Hayat Wave is. I don't understand these meteorological terms, Mike. What's a Hayat Wave?
It's a short one. It's brief, right? So usually these last for days and days and days, but I think we'll only make a 3-day one out of it, especially by the time we get to tomorrow. But today's heat is pretty impressive, especially climbing up to 100 degrees across many stations here in southern New Jersey, Manahawkin, even over in Egg Harbor City, Hamilton, southern New Jersey taps in to the triple-digit heat, even close to the coast because it's a west and southwesterly wind that keeps all these places toasty through this afternoon. Reason for that being the southwesterly breeze pumping in the very humid air and allowing for that heat to rise throughout the day. There's your wind just updating right now, anywhere from 15 to 25 miles per hour on average. And the pollen to the grasses and weeds at the moderate level, not terribly high, but noticeable, especially those with sensitivity. Now, with the record heat at 104 for the day in Newark back in 1995, I don't think we'll get that hot, but we come pretty close with the actual air temperature and the heat index well above the average of 87 degrees. So you look back off to the south and west and you see a lot of clear sky. It'll be a sunny start to the day, but again, the wildfire smoke giving us a hazy sky by day's end. Beach locations, you can cool off comfortably too. Water temperatures in the mid 60s and your high tides later on this morning. So with the rain chances high going into Saturday, I think the wettest day of the weekend, wetter day of the weekend, and then Sunday drying out with a 20% chance of rain predominantly in the morning, I think we'll look good for the game over at MetLife Stadium later on Sunday afternoon. Until then, though, have all of the heat that breaks by this afternoon. Tomorrow, much cooler and drier. It's really the humidity that breaks by Friday with the clear sky returning. And then Saturday, you see some rain move in through the morning into the afternoon, clearing by Sunday morning and with another cold front that sweeps on through. And that'll give us much more comfortable weather for Sunday afternoon. So heat and hot weather today, smoke continues for tomorrow, and then drier and less humid on Friday. Friday will actually feel quite pleasant. Sunday brings back some sunshine after a little bit of rain on Saturday, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week, average heat and humidity to start off the next week in July. So a little bit of a bump in the road with the rain on Saturday, but I think Sunday makes up for it with some clearing by the afternoon, Ken.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Mike. Now we're starting to get some traffic. Now we're just pressing the buttons to make sure we have it. Come on. There we go. Thank you, Mike. By the way, Mike never did define what a Hayat Wave is. I'm very upset with Mike. We got to have a conversation about that. Hayat Wave. It's a mispronunciation of heat wave. All right. For those of you saying, what the hell are you talking about, Ken? Hayat Wave. All right. We have 8:34 right now. Our temperature is 77 degrees in northern New Jersey. It's 80 degrees in Trenton. A lot of little traffic issues happening right now. Let's go to the Garden State Parkway. Southbound, we have a crash. This is north of exit 136 Stiles Street. It's not causing massive delays, as you can see, but they are down to about 25 to 30 miles an hour there as a result. So just kind of be aware of that. Moving along to another camera shot. Let's move to a different shot here. This is by 135. Delays now in the Garden State northbound from 135 to 137. And that is a 4-mile delay in all due to volume there. So that's not a major problem. There's another issue at 149 on the Garden State Parkway from 149 to 140 going southbound. We have that shot, Pam? There you go. So that's what you have there. That's from 149 to 140. So that's a 9-mile delay. And you can see the smokiness. You see, Mike was talking about the smoke in the sky. Look at that. That is all from wildfires. And because of the pressure and whatnot in the air, it's kind of hovering there. So, all right, we could come off of that. And we have delays right now. We have reported Route 3 westbound by Route 46 in Clifton. Route 21, we have delays now southbound, south of Chester Ave to 280 in Newark. All lanes are open there. And your Hudson River crossings, Lincoln Tunnel right now is 25 minutes in. The Holland Tunnel is 30 to 35. GWB upper and lower levels. Oh, there's the Holland. You can see it's stopped by the right tube. Just bumper to bumper there, but it is, you can get in through the middle tube, or the left tube, I should say. It's only 2 tubes. And then the GWB upper and lower levels, 80-95 approach, costing you a solid 25 minutes right now. Not so bad. You can see usually when it's delayed from this point right here, which is 2 miles, right there, that is 2 miles into Manhattan from that camera, because I pass it all the time when I drive. From that point in, that tells you it's about 25 to 30. If it backs up to the top of the screen, upper left, then it's about 40. And that's how we know where things are with the GWB. 836. And what began as a personal setback has grown into a mission to help others pursue their passions and strengthen their communities. After being laid off in 2014, Warith Juma turned a difficult moment into the foundation for what would eventually become the Passionate Rebel Foundation. And joining us this morning is Warith Juma, founder and CEO of the Passionate Rebel Foundation. Hello, sir, to share his journey and the impact his organization is making right here in the Garden State. Good morning to you, Warith.
Good morning, Ken. How are you? Thank you for having me. This is an
Nice to have you on.
show.
Thank you, sir. Well, for an amazing person. To take us back to 2014, how did being laid off be the catalyst for creating Passionate Rebel?
Well, for me, I had just graduated college, graduated from Morgan State University. And, within the norm, within our community and society, it's always said, go to college, work, and that'll deem you as being successful. And, being laid off, that was just the total opposite because that was something that that a lot of people in communities weren't taught to deal with. So, for me, being in that at that point in time, I felt that I was unsuccessful. Felt lost a little, and I know there was probably others out there similar to myself that probably experienced and felt the same exact thing. So I wanted to be an example of inspiration, to go out there and just inspire people just to continue to follow their passion despite that type of setback being faced. So that prompted me to just to start a brand within fashion because I knew fashion is what connects us as a community as throughout the world. And I just wanted the message of being able to rebel against not following your passion. So I wanted to infuse fashion with not only flair, but with messages of strength and resilience that can give you a chance to not only be fashionable, but at the same time spark something within you. And that
Mm.
message started to resonate throughout various communities. And it just translated into a full on lifestyle brand that we fast forward
Maury,
today.
if I could jump in. So you begin as a lifestyle brand, which is hard enough to establish, right? I mean, just because there's so much out there and people have limited dollars and then they have to be careful what they spend. So you start out with a lifestyle brand, but you evolved into a community focused foundation. That's a big leap. And a lot of people say you make it
Really.
sound like easy, but how do you get to that point? That is huge.
It's not easy. I think as you go on your journey and you go into different experiences, then those doors begin to open for you. One is based on faith and just trusting yourself and whatever. For me, I was raised in Islam, I'm Muslim, and just that foundation from my parents just encouraging me to go out there and just keep going despite whatever setback you face. Just believe in yourself and just believe in what God has for you, and you're gonna continue to push forward. So that's what just kept me to keep going. And as I kept going, I started to gain certain experiences. I started to connect not only to community, but to education, to fashion, to just all these different variables that connected people. And I just found ways to generate income, to connect it to getting funding and all these different things. And it was just overall faith. It just keep going. It's just you can't limit yourself to one thing. If I would have kept Passion and Rebel as just a fashion brand, I don't think it would have propelled to the level that it's at now because it has to be infused with a lot more than just trying to dress somebody.
Hmm.
Today's world that we're living in, there's so many things that's going on, so many people that's being impacted and by just several things, but people want to ultimately follow their passion. That's the ultimate thing that pushes them. So to be an inspiration and to be a prime example, you have to give a blueprint in a sense of how to get there. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you love to say your mantra is rebel against not following your passion, right? So it's about if you
Yes,
don't follow your passion, you are not being true to yourself, basically, right?
100%, 100%, and that's your love for these derived from your passion, and that's how you have to continue to go at things. Everything is going to require you to be passionate about something, and honestly it stems from your childhood of things that you're passionate back then. I remember I was at the track running one day, and a gentleman came to me and said, how you feel as a kid is how you should feel now when it comes to things that you're passionate about. And I kept that with me. I remember him saying that to me in 2015, and I kept that with me ever since.
That's amazing. And you guys help young people a lot in New Jersey. Why do you think helping young people identify and pursue their passions is so important?
Because they're gonna be the future of things. So we continue to lead after each other. I recently just became a father um, in
Congratulations.
2024. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My little boy is going on 2 years old, and what I created Passion Rebel, I thought it was for me. And as things continue to go along and things come about, I learned that it's not just about me. It's about my son. It's about his peers that's going to go with him. It's about the youth now that's trying to find a way. And a lot of
Right.
a lot of these youth are looking for resources. They're looking to connect with mentors, and The one thing that we have to say to them is follow your passion, because there's nothing else that's going to push them to reach those goals that they're striving to achieve without following their passion.
I love it. Warith, give us your website, please, so everybody can check out.
Yes, you can definitely catch Passionate Rebel at www.passionaterebel.net. If you have Instagram, I'm sure a lot of you do. You can follow us at Passionate Rebel on Instagram. And again, our website is passionaterebel.net. And continue to allow your passion to stimulate your hustle, everyone.
Works for me. Warith Juma, founder and CEO of the Passionate Rebel Foundation. God bless you. Thank you for coming on this morning, my friend. It's nice to meet you.
You as well, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What an inspiration. What an inspiration. Good man. It is 8:43 right now. We have 80 degrees northern New Jersey and in Trenton. When we come back, there's a private philanthropic organization here in Teaneck that has so many New Jerseyans through strategic invitation-only grants, help them out, bring them into a good place. We're going to talk with the vice president of the Russell Berry Foundation and the executive director of the Mawa Environmental Volunteers Organization. Don't go away. Welcome back to New Jersey Mornings. Ken Rosato at 8:45, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Middle of a heat wave. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast. And Mike, I'm very disappointed. You didn't translate the Hayat Wave.
I didn't.
You just went right
I
past
thought of it later. The coffee has a delayed reaction today on a Wednesday. You know, it takes a few hours for the caffeine to kick in. So I thought of the comeback. I said, "You watch your mouth, Kenneth. You watch your mouth." That
that's a
was
good
it.
comeback. I like
It
that.
took about a half hour, but there we go. So yes, you know, it's going to start off very warm and humid as it is right now, but the smokiness that comes back into the air will not look pretty later on this afternoon, especially if you plan to go for that late evening stroll or walk, not like you normally would with the 100-degree heat with the high humidity, but the particulate matter in the air and all of that extra pollution caused by the wildfire smoke is really going to make it look kind of ugly later on today, lowering visibility, bringing back kind of a whitishness to the skies as we start off pretty nice and blue this morning. Taking a longer look down the road into the long-range forecast, there's slightly cooler weather than average. This could only mean low 80s through the end of the month of July, and also brings back a little bit more of that higher humidity with some more rainfall. So there's the smokiness for the day, even to tomorrow. I think Friday clears all of that out, looks much more pleasant. Saturday has rain. Sunday, nice and dry by the end of the day. And then early next week, look at the clearing that takes over. Beautiful weather on tap for the first few days of next week, even through the middle of the week, with Tuesday and Wednesday's highs only climbing into the low 80s, which is average. It'll look very nice. And we like average, especially when it means no 90 and 100-degree heat on the way. So a little bit of a more tranquil finish to next weekend.
All right, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. And enjoy your day. Try to stay cool.
You too.
We'll check back mañana. It is 77 degrees northern New Jersey, 80 degrees in Trenton. It's 75 in Cape May, a little cooler by the water. That's a nice thing. In terms of traffic, we have a crash now, Route 17 north of Midland Avenue in Paramus. Left lane is closed. That's causing a bit of a backup. You could see just a little slowdown there. Heavy traffic on Route 17. Over to 295, there's a crash southbound south of exit 60, which is Route 195 in Hamilton Township. Right shoulder is closed. Hudson River crossings right now. Lincoln is going to cost you 30 in. Holland Tunnel is 35 to 40. Making your way from 139 from the Turnpike into the Tube. You can see just stopped traffic there. And the GWB upper and lower levels moving pretty well, actually, about 25 miles an hour. And that's going to cost you about 20 minutes. So upper levels on the right, lower level is on the left. 8:48 is our time. For the past 30 years, the Russ Berry Making a Difference Award has celebrated everyday New Jerseyans whose dedication and service have made a lasting impact in their communities. As the program honors its final class of recipients, it's also celebrating a new generation of changemakers carrying that legacy forward. Joining us this morning are Scott Berry, Vice President of the Russell Berry Foundation, and Violet Reed, who is the Executive Director of the Mahwah Environmental Volunteers Organization, to talk about the award's remarkable legacy and why inspiring future leaders has never been more important. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
It's good to have you on. Yeah, good morning. So, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, this sunsets in what, 2033?
The foundation itself will sunset in 2033. Yes, that's correct. That would be the 100-year anniversary of my father's life, even though my father passed away in 2020. Yeah.
Wow, rest his soul. And what an amazing legacy it leaves. He left for you to pass on. Just an amazing man. For 3 decades, the Russ Berry Making a Difference Award, those recognized unsung heroes all across New Jersey. So talk about how it was created.
So before the foundation was even started, we would sit around his dining room table, once a month, having bagels and lox and herring and cream sauce, talking about how we could make a difference. And I think one of the things that was really inspiring to my father was leadership, individual leadership, and how the individual in a community could really make a difference. So recognizing unsung heroes in the community was a top priority for us, and a way to inspire other people in the community to make change within their communities. And for the last 30 years, as you mentioned, we've been doing that, and it's been an incredible opportunity to create this community of change makers in New Jersey.
So I know you give grants, but you select the organization to which you give grants, right? It's not like someone can come and apply. Is that how it works?
In general, so there's, the Make a Difference Awards is one thing, and then there's what the foundation does itself, which is grant giving, as you mentioned. And that's correct. We choose who we give grants to. We generally do not accept any kind of applications or anything like that. But there's a separate group of people who are picking these change makers and discovering who these change makers are in their communities.
Gotcha. I just want to try to clarify the Scott Berry Foundation, the organization, and how how it works.
The Russell Berry Foundation, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Russ Berry. What did I just say?
Scott Berry.
Scott, this is what happens when you don't have enough coffee. Forgive me.
Yeah, exactly.
So, looking back over 30 years and nearly 500 honorees, what are the qualities that you found define people best and most over those years that make a lasting difference?
You had Warif, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing the name, but Warif on the show just a minute ago, and just describing passion. I think passion was the first and foremost. People are just committed to making those changes, single-minded, focused. They are entrepreneurial. They know that they are going to do what they need to do in their community to make that difference. And it's been an incredible thing to watch over the 30 years, people who were given grants 30 years ago, how the organizations have developed, how those initial grants, in some cases, really made a difference in terms of growing the organization.
And so now I know that Violet became the executive director of Mevo at just 20 years of age. First of all, how do you become the executive director of something like that, of a company at 20? That's the first question. And what inspired you to step into that role so early?
Sure. Well, 20 is quite a compliment, but I was actually 23. I joined the organization when I was 20. We're a youth-led organization, so we're built on youth leadership, and our founder and executive director, who started the organization in 2008 as a high school student, was looking to transition the organization into the hands of another young person. So I started as an intern. I knew he was getting ready to leave, and then for about 2.5 years, from 2018 to early 2020, I trained as a director and then took over January of 2020.
That's incredible. And Mevo is the camera company, right? That's the camera company that follows. Am I wrong, or do I have the wrong? Or is it
No, so we
Mevo
get
the
con
insecticide?
No, so we get confused a lot with the camera company, but we're an environmental not-for-profit located in Mahwah, New Jersey, doing pretty large-scale, hands-on volunteer projects, whether that be farming, trail building, large-scale trash cleanups, internships, and farm-to-school programs.
Well, I like it even more now. That's fantastic. And so you were nominated by 2012 Making a Difference Award recipient Eric Fuchs Stengel. So what does it mean to have somebody like that who was honored years ago recognize your work?
It is an honor. I mean, he started this organization from the ground up. Quite literally, we were grassroots. We started with zero money, but a lot of passion, a lot of volunteers, and to have someone who started the organization just from that grassroots level, brought it into a very successful, high impact organization, and then to feel that I deserve the honor as well. To get this award is really, really flattering and really boosted my confidence in the work that I'm doing and the work that Mevo is doing.
And Scott, mentorship, rather, I should say, has become an important part of this year's award. So why is it so meaningful to see one generation of change makers then reach out and sort of lift up the next?
Yeah, so Eric, who nominated Violet, as you mentioned, received his award in 2012. So it's kind of incredible that years later he's nominating Violet and the organization and Mevo, and now we're celebrating her. So it's just it pays it forward, and so to see this carry on in that way, even though our dollars are ending, to see that it continues to have life going forward is really sort of very gratifying.
Talk about the fact that this is the final group of honorees, and why this time is that? Why have we decided that this is the point where it ends?
In philanthropy, the source of funding is always an interesting issue. You want to, we call them social investments. And the idea with a social investment is just like investing in anything financially. You hope that it will have a life of its own as it goes forward, that it's not just going to be reliant on the money coming from you, that the idea will start to spread. So for us, we feel like the Make a Difference Awards has gotten incredible traction. We've built up an incredible cohort of people making changes and differences in their community, and that it just can't continue to go on forever. And it's in line with the sunsetting of the foundation in general. And one of the things that my father believed very strongly in was whatever the issues of the day that were important to him when he was alive would not hopefully be the issues of the day 30 years from now. So in many ways, things have changed. In many ways, they've stayed the same. And so I think that it's a very healthy thing to sunset and to let the next generation take the lead on what the issues are that are important today that he could perhaps not have thought of 30 years ago.
Very, very wise man, your dad. Incredible.
Yeah.
And Violet, for young people watching who want to make a difference, but they don't know where to begin, what would you tell them? What's your advice for them?
I think it sounds cliche because I feel like a lot of people tell young people this, but start volunteering in an organization you're passionate about, whether it be an animal shelter, a river cleanup project, a homeless shelter, even. I think your passion is best put towards action. And when you can get on the ground and help people in need, that's where that spark of wanting to change really takes off, I think.
Fantastic. We are very lucky in the state of New Jersey to have both of you and your organizations. It makes this state what it is, and it's a very, very special place. So I want to thank you both for coming on. Scott Berry, Vice
Thank you,
President
Ken.
of the Russell Berry Foundation, Violet Reed, Executive Director of the Mawa Environmental Volunteers Organizations. Congratulations to you, by the way. And thank you both for coming on this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. It is 8:57 right now. Very hot. 81 degrees now, northern New Jersey. 80 degrees in Trenton. A little cooler at the shores. 79 at Cape May. And meteorologist Mike Favetta says we are in the middle of a heat wave. We'll have sunny, hot conditions today. Highs mid-90s. Another day in the 90s tomorrow. And that's on New Jersey Mornings for your Wednesday, July 15th, 2026. I'm Ken Rosato. Remember, you could stream us at ONNJ.com, ONLACA.com, ONFLA.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. We also stream live on Substack, Rumble, Twitch, and Local Now. Catch you again tomorrow morning at 7. Tell all your friends about us. Till then, have a great day.